Blog Talk Radio.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
And now, broadcasting from separate and unknown locations, your hosts, Don King and Brandon Gatton on Liberty2Go, Freedom Radio. Hey, how's it going? This is our second show. One down, one to go today, and hopefully a whole lot more. How you doing, Brandon? My co-host, Brandon Gatton, everybody.
I'm here.
All right. It's amazing. We started out on time this week. We didn't have that problem that we had last week, so maybe the gremlins are out of the system, but let's just knock on wood. All right, there we go. All right, well, our call-in number is 347-850-8231. That's 347-850-8231. Give us a call. We're going to call it Open Line Tuesday, and whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll talk about it. We also got a few things we're going to get into ourselves. One of the things, Brandon, you and I touched base last week on these rules of engagement for our boys over in, I should say, our boys and girls over in Afghanistan and Iraq, and how the rules of engagement have hampered what they are able to get done. And I think, although this is subjective, but I don't think that you can, I don't know if it can be quantified or not, but I believe that the high incident of suicide and PTSD that we're seeing in the military today is a direct result of these restrictive rules of engagement. They actually place our boys in more harm than they're already in to begin with. I mean, this is war. They're already got the most dangerous job on the planet, and now this administration has made it worse. Now, my dad was a World War II vet. He was a Marine, and he saw a lot of action whenever they invaded Okinawa because he was in the initial deployment there. And I asked him one time, I said, Dad, now my dad since has passed on, but he was about, I think, 82 or 83 when I asked him this. And I said, Dad, when you were in the war in the Philippines, in Okinawa, what were your rules of engagement? And he says, well, explain what you mean rules of engagement. And I said, well, I'll give you an example. Our guys can't shoot unless they're being shot at by the enemy. So what instructions did they give you? He said, they told us to kill the enemy. That was the only rule of engagement they had. So, Brandon, can you elaborate? I mean, you're our resident military expert, being a Marine and all, and thank you for your service. Can we go into the rules of engagement a little bit? You're probably going to be a little bit more well-versed in it than I am.
Well, the thing is, had we ran rules of engagement like we did, like we did now in World War II, you and I might actually be speaking German. It doesn't work that way, and I've used this saying before: is you do not unleash the dogs of war and pull back on their chains. You're there to do a job, and rules of engagement, I understand in certain instances, that might be okay, but when you're being engaged, it doesn't necessarily mean you're being fired upon. There could be somebody watching you with a cell phone in their hand. They could be ready to, blow you up, ready to set off an IED or an ambush right down the road that you're walking on.
Right, because a lot of those IEDs, they call them improvised explosive devices. a lot of them are triggered by cell phones. Is that correct?
Correct. That's pressure plates and cell phones are their two most favorite weapons.
So if you see a guy with a cell phone, maybe someone from the left end of the political spectrum would think, oh, innocent person calling his mom or ordering a pizza. But whenever you're and your friends, your buddies, the guys in your unit, whenever their lives are on the line, that's a weapon. That's not just a cell phone. It's a potential weapon.
Right. Because you never know. And I mean, if you got a guy that's walking along the ridge line there, and he's looking at you and he's on the phone and he's actively walking along with you, that's going to make you nervous.
Oh yeah.
Especially when we've had these instances where people have gotten killed because of a guy with a cell phone. I mean,
now, what are some of these restrictive rules of engagement that our boys have to abide by at this time?
At this time?
Yes.
I've heard of reports of them sending guys out without ammunition. They're not to fire at all. They're to break engagement and get away. That's not, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, that's hearsay. I can't, say for certain it's exactly what's going on. But, don't fire unless fired upon. And if you're in a village, don't fire at all, because you might hit a civilian. Who's to say that civilian is not helping? I'm not, I'm not condoning going out and shooting clearing a village, so to speak. You know what I mean? But they're putting our guys at risk, and it does not make any sense to me. I mean, if you're there to do a job, if they say, hey, you're going out of patrol to look for potential threats, if it's a potential threat, shoot it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just doing a quick search here, and it says, and this is for Afghanistan, U.S. forces shall not enter Afghan homes for the purposes of military operations except under extraordinary circumstances involving urgent risk to life and limb of U.S. nationals. Now, that's straight from Barack Obama in a letter to the Afghan president at the time, Hamid Karzai.
Karzai, yeah.
That to me is just crazy. This is here's a quote from the Washington Times. A pilot testified. I don't want to do a whole lot of reading of articles on the show, but I'm going to read this because it just says a rare look at today's classified rules of engagement is contained in the huge investigative file of the Afghan Taliban's downing of a Chinook helicopter last year. It killed 30 of our guys. That was the one that had the 17 members of SEAL Team 6 that went down. The report noted service members' frustration at seeing people they knew were Taliban fighters, but were denied permission to shoot. An Apache gunship pilot said he saw the spot from where the Taliban operatives fired the rocket-propelled grenade that brought the chopper down. Due to the ROEs and tactical directives, I couldn't fire at the building where I thought the shooter was, so I aimed directly to the west of the building. During the battle that preceded the shoot-down, the crew of the 130 gunship spotted 2 armed Taliban fighters moving into new positions. There were several opportunities where we could have engaged with 40 millimeter, ensuring zero collateral damage on any buildings. The opportunity was definitely there for us to engage those 2 guys or even provide containment fire to slow their movement. The investigator says, "Did you ask to engage them?" The navigator replied, "Yes." The investigator said, "Was it denied?" And the pilot said, "Yes, sir." The AC-130 commander says, "I think he spoke with ground force commander, and he said, no go, just maintain eyes on." To me, that is a load of you-know-what. There is absolutely no way we should have lost 30 of our men that day when they saw them and were not allowed to shoot on. That's just crazy. Sorry.
Yeah, he's exactly right, though.
It's just this is an issue that gets on my nerves really quick. It really, to be honest with you, I hate to use this language on the radio, but it pisses me off. And there's no reason why. Well, this is the way I look at it. War is hell. It's a horrible, terrific, terrible, unspeakable hell on earth. And the best way, other than avoiding it, if you cannot avoid a war and you have to prosecute a war, the most logical, the best way is to do it as hard, fast, fierce, and tough as you can to get it over with. Because the longer you stretch a war out, the more people are going to die that don't need to. And I'm talking about people on both sides of the combatants, and I'm talking about the collateral damage of the civilians. The longer you stretch it out, the worse it is. And I do not understand, and I never will, why people cannot. It's just a simple fact to me. It's just logical. But when you're dealing with the left, logic isn't always something that's in their wheelhouse. So,
well, I guess I'm completely old school, when it comes to rules of engagement, because I believe what we did in World War II, there was a couple times where we would fly over a village or a city, and we would just flat out say, hey, here's some pamphlets. We're coming in. If you're still here, you're now a combatant.
Right.
If you stay,
yeah.
I
mean, we firebombed Dresden. We leveled Dresden. I mean, just leveled it. They call it carpet bombing now. We just firebombed the heck out of them. And that was with what they would call nowadays the dumb missiles. I mean, they just opened up the belly of the plane and let them tumble out, and where they landed, they landed. And the weaponry that we have today is so advanced, and you can be so almost pinpoint accurate. There's no reason to deny one of our guys being able to fire on an enemy combatant.
Yeah,
whenever we have that kind of accuracy. I mean, I could understand if you say, well, can I drop these bombs and we may or may not get them, and there's a school and a hospital there, yeah, I can understand, no, we're not going to do that. But when you got a laser-guided missile, somebody on the ground can paint a laser target, and the missile goes straight for that, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, we have smart bombs now. I mean, back then they were using what basically were dumb bombs. And them guys, even back then, they were so good at figuring out where this thing was going to land that
the bombers had a device. I forget what it was called, but it was kind of a for the 40s, I guess you could call it a computer. It really wasn't an electronic computer, but it was pretty accurate. Of course, you had to have good conditions, you had to have visibility and things like that. You're right about that. Those dumb bombs, and those were 500-pounder and 1,000-pounders. Those weren't, they didn't drop a stick of dynamite. I mean, those are some heavy-duty bombs, and a lot of them were designed, like I said, they firebombed Dresden. That whenever they went off, that created a big firestorm. So,
right.
Well, we kind of got off onto this by talking about the American Sniper last week, and again, it's an excellent movie. I added it to my list of all-time favorite movies, and as far as a military movie, it's going to be right up there in the top 5 or top 3. Great movie, a great book. Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I mean, I was just going to touch base on that. I mean, think about it. As of yesterday, I don't know about today because it's it's a different day, but as of yesterday, $200 million. That movie has brought in $200 million.
Wow. And that's such a short time. Now you look at Saving Private Ryan. I read online, its total gross is $481 million. So it looks like American Sniper is going to blow right past that. And Michael Moore with his stupid comments, and we covered that last week, and Seth Rogen, who has sincerely apologized, and he didn't just walk back what he said or try to come up with some stupid explanation or lame excuse. He said he was wrong and he didn't mean it the way it sounded, and I believe him. But Michael Moore, he doesn't have the guts to say no. He doesn't have the guts to say no, I meant that, or he doesn't have the guts to say I didn't say American Sniper. I just said snipers in general. Well, The opening weekend, whenever American Sniper comes out and he tweets that, we knew what he was talking about.